Redditors of Reddit, that had sex with your cousin, what led you to that? NSFW. Story 1. Serious but boring answer. I dated my cousin in high school briefly, although we were never intimate. Also, we didn't know we were cousins at the time. She and I were in a history class together, and we started casually going out after being assigned to a group project together where something between us clicked. One day our history teacher made an offhand comment about me and her being related, and we were like, WTF? Our grandmothers were sisters, and our history teacher was also our aunt to some degree of separation, which is how she knew both sets of our parents and how we were related. We decided to stop dating. Story 2. Not me, but a friend of mine was really into this girl he met at a remote function. They stayed in touch and then had several weekend visits to each other where they never left the bedroom. When he told his parents about her, they blanched. Apparently his father had a full-blood sister who he cut ties with long before my friend was born. And, obviously based on the context of the story, Dad's sis was his new girlfriend's mom. My friend broke up with her but didn't tell her the real reason why. He felt horrible about it and didn't want to share that with her. His call, I guess. Story 3. Funny story, I joke with my wife about how she may be my cousin. We may have family relatives on either side, but through marriage on their part, and it's way far down the line if true. Still funny though. Story 4. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure it was consensual on my part. My cousin is a few years older than me and her family have been very close since we were kids. Growing up, it was sorta ingrained in me by everyone that obedience was a virtue. So all my life my natural reaction to someone asking me for something or to do something has always been yes. For the longest time, saying no was not something that came easily for me. Fast forward many years, I'm in my 20s, she's in her 30s. I'm spending the weekend at their place. I was drinking with my uncle and my cousin joined us. We all got wasted, my uncle passed out and my cousin decided now was the best time to pop out some pills she was tripping on. Now, I've done my fair share of drugs, but mostly psychedelics and stuff, never like pills or anything. She told me to take a pill. I didn't want to at first, but she was always a little bit of a bully and was always ordering me about when we're kids, so I found it hard to say no. I said I didn't feel like it and she started sniping at my manhood and belittling me for not being adventurous enough. Eventually I caved. I still have no idea what was in those pills. But I remember everything going slow, like I was suddenly in a pool of molasses or something. We went to her room to chill and put on some TV, but I started tripping pretty soon. That's when my cousin pulled out some oil and told me to massage her head. I just wanted to chill and enjoy whatever it was I was on, but her tone became more authoritative and demanding, so I just caved again. Head massage doesn't seem so harmful, right? Well, then she started telling me to massage other parts of her body and started undressing. When I meekly protested, she just said it's fine and told me to keep going. Eventually she started undressing me, but by this point I was way too high to say anything. Suffice it to say, things escalated very quickly from then on. I say I'm not sure if it was consensual because while I never wanted anything to happen, and if could do it again I'd run the buck out of that room, but at that moment, I remember being quite aroused. Cousin or not, she is a very attractive woman and is very fit. But I think being blitzed out of my mind, a part of me wanted to buck her in that moment cause I was pretty erect by the time my boxers came off. Anyways, it's been many years now and we both live on different continents. While we've never explicitly spoken about it, she did show some remorse the last time she saw me and gave me a gold watch for doing wrong by me, but we never talked about what that was. I never said anything to family but told my friends about it and they're pretty convinced I was her word, but it didn't feel like her word. I don't feel it was 100% consensual either, so I guess even after all these years, it's still confusing me a bit. Story 5. I didn't, but when I was in junior high, I met a cousin I never knew about. We were in class, and they called out her name. We have a very unique last name, so I figured we had to be related. Found out she was my dad's brother's daughter. My dad had left the family when I was like 4 or 5, so we had no connection to his side. This girl was beautiful. If I had the chance, I definitely would have had sex with her, but I was a total dork, so there was no chance of that happening. Found out much later in life that my dad wasn't my biological dad, so we weren't blood related anyway. Story 6. I bucked my cousin's cousin once. We didn't realize till the next morning during the whole "oh yeah, do you this guy" conversation. Very awkward moment. We ended up in the same social circle for a few years, but it was never spoken of again. Not quite the same as a cousin, but it's the closest I've got. Story 7. My wife's cousin married my mother's cousin. I'm not sure what that makes my wife and I, but they're from a small Wisconsin town where family trees are more like reeds, so I'm sure it's not that uncommon. I'm another story though. My friend had sex with one of my cousins, then we found out after we were related. Story 8. This is an American-centric, or at least Western-centric, question, where it's seen as taboo for cousins to have sex/get married. Worldwide, cross-cousin marriage of first or second cousins is reasonably common and in some cultures actually preferable. It completely depends on the culture you're raised in. Quick note on the genetics issue. I believe first cousins are genetically far enough apart to have healthy children. I have an anthropology background and remember learning about this, but that was a while back. I bet somebody with a more current science background would be able to spill more info on birth defects/health problems of offspring from siblings versus cousins versus unrelated parents. Story 9. Not me, but a guy I went to high school with went through the old have sex with a random girl and see her at the family reunion a few weeks later story. I seriously wouldn't know how the buck to react. Story 10. I almost had sex with her. We were always good friends, but we grew closer. I think I would have wore a condom so we couldn't create any weird babies. That's kind of the only reason that it's not allowed. She was hot and we were both young. I was 15 and she was 16 at the time. It really didn't feel like a cousin, more like a good friend, so it wasn't weird either. If you made it this far, please consider pressing the subscribe and like button. Now continue to the video. Story 11. We watched each other masturbate at the same time. Does that count? Story 12. We grew up together. She came to my house for 2 weeks every 6 months and for my birthday. We were very close, but always joking, as you would with your girl best friend or cousin because you know nothing will ever happen. The day before my 18th birthday, she's older than me, she confessed that she had been in love with me her whole life and needed to confess it. I, as the idiot that I am, just told her that was okay and moved on. Like 2 months later I was drunk and she replied to my Instagram story I posted being completely wasted. We proceeded to talk a ton that night at like 3 a.m. and the day after that we agreed to make a move during the family grill that was that same day. Once there, I said I was not feeling good for drinking the day before and casually told her to come with me to the pharmacy in case I throw up or something. Everyone there agrees and just thinks it's regular cousin stuff. After that we had sex in the car and returned to the party after that, and no one ever noticed. We have done this every 2/3 months since that day, as she has a boyfriend and we also tell our families we will see each other, but they don't suspect anything because it's about the same amount of times per year as always. I guess that, to finally answer the question, I do it because she's really hot, 100% out of my league. I still don't know how she likes me, but she's probably the hottest girl I'll ever pull. She has literally won several beauty contests in her town/state. Also, the connection is amazing, as we share so many memories and all this soul tension that had always been there for years comes out when we're together. Also, the adrenaline of being in family meetings knowing what we do and that no one knows is really exciting. October 10th, would do it again. R and I moved out of the country for academic reasons, but you know that welcome back SX is gonna be awesome. At the end of the day, everything is very risky and boundaries are necessary, so we agreed not to text each other, not to know anything about each other's relationships, haven't been in one myself but definitely would not cheat for this, even if she does it, and also no sharing this with anyone. I told this to my girl best friend because I trust her to death, but to her only. Also, risks are not only about people knowing but also catching too much feelings. Not a good idea to get in love and try to reveal that to the rest of the family/plan a life together. I like her, but honestly I would not sacrifice my relationship with my family for her, nor I love her to that point. We agreed this would be just a friends with benefits kind of thing and nothing more. Extra info, she's the daughter of my mother's first cousin. Story 13. Not me personally, but some guy and girl I know are cousins by marriage, and she gave him multiple blowjobs till they realized and they had the few seconds of holy shit, are we related? Story 14. We didn't have sex, but I did sleep with her and we did touch each other. Don't regret it, felt better than having sex with someone I didn't even feel anything for. Story 15. Well, my partner has and he said it was a very erotic experience. First time was at a family get-together, but they didn't go the whole way. Second time was at her mother's birthday party at a hotel. They knew most were staying over at hotel, so was loads of flirting going on, and at end of night he managed to sneak her into his room. He was staying on his own. He told me it was a very erotic night. There was nothing they didn't. Both enjoyed it and no regrets. So obviously for some cousins it's a big turn on. Story 16. It's nothing too crazy. Went back to the old country to visit family after a 10+ year absence and met all these first and second cousins I never knew existed or only saw when they were babies. In my mother's side I met her cousin, my second cousin, who was a horny divorced MILF who immediately let me know what's up. I pounded her when the fam fell asleep. 'Twas fast and furious. In my father's side I was introduced to an entire set of family members I had never met before, uncles, aunts, cousins, second cousins, etc. Went out drinking with some of these new cousins, and a particularly attractive and buxom cousin took me aside and had her wonderful way with me. Faint banjo music played in the distance. I regret nothing. Story 17. It is still to this day the most erotic and arousing sexual experience of my life, and I have done some off-the-wall and taboo things too. I only regret two parts of my incestuous rendezvous with my cousin. One, that our family got suspicious of us, which is why we had to cool it for a while, ultimately ending our relationship. Two, that I didn't get her pregnant when we were trying so hard to be. Story 18. It was once when I was 18. I had just graduated high and my female cousin, 18, came to stay this summer. We were always close and sometimes it could be flirtatious, but nothing more than that until this day. We went swimming one day in the pool at my parents' house while no one was home. We came back inside and were drying off. Then, all I remember was turning her to face and we kissed deeply. The next thing I know I am losing my virginity to my cousin and having incredible sex. Afterward, we just laid there buck naked and just told each other never speak of this again, until now lol. I hate to admit it, but it was still a great experience and she is still the best I ever had.